This is Future Tense, where we dissect tomorrow's ideas today. A lot of us have probably heard warnings like this before. People worrying that new technology is going to disrupt the world as we know it and usher in a dystopia of some kind. Sometimes those fears come true. When the internet was first invented, many people worried that it would lead to widespread job losses, which of course ended up happening. Other times, the doomsday predictions turn out to be unfounded. The widespread adoption of mobile phones hasn't led to widespread madness or nosebleed epidemics as some predicted. What's interesting is that almost always these predictions are made by experts, people who study the technology and understand how it works. And that makes it all the more surprising when non-experts jump in to say that, actually, no, I totally disagree. This phenomenon is called ABSU, a term coined in 2008 that stands for argument from incredulity, meaning that someone uses the fact that a prediction seems unlikely to them personally as evidence that it's wrong. And yes, I am aware that I'm starting a whole episode of a podcast about a communication failure that I am myself committing. Welcome to this special episode of Future Tense, the podcast that dissects tomorrow's ideas today. I'm your host, Sarah Marks. And today we're talking about argument from incredulity. If you're new here, you can subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode. Every Friday, we bring you the inside stories on what's coming next and what it might mean for our world. Our contributors are leading thinkers from around the globe who bring their expertise to bear on everything from artificial intelligence to space exploration to the future of work. You can also find us on various platforms where we've got a bunch of bonus material, including interviews, extended podcast segments, and original video series. In the last few decades, we've seen a slew of predictions about the future of technology that turned out to be spectacularly wrong. Just take a look at these headlines from the 1990s. Many of these predictions were made by prominent voices who really seemed to know what they were talking about. Some of these articles paint a pretty bleak picture of the future. The Economist warned of the impending Y2K bug that would shut down computers around the world. Newsweek magazine worried that the growing use of email was making us all dumber, and Fortune magazine predicted that it was too late for Microsoft and that Bill Gates' empire was destined to collapse. There's a common thread running through all of these incorrect predictions. Each one was based on the expert's personal incredulity, the idea that the predictions seemed unlikely to them. Or in other words, that it just didn't seem possible that this technology could evolve in this way. Yet each one of them turned out to be dead wrong. Today, we're seeing the exact same thing happen with predictions about the future of artificial intelligence. Many of the most prominent figures in the field have sounded the alarm about potential risks that may arise as AI becomes more advanced. Take, for instance, this letter signed by thousands of AI researchers and executives, including some of the biggest names in the industry. It warns that despite the incredible promise of AI, the technology poses an existential threat that could ultimately destroy humanity. By contrast, Elon Musk has long been a critic of AI regulation, predicting that it will stifle innovation in the United States while boosting innovation in China. Meanwhile, there's a contingent of AI researchers who seem almost blasé about the prospect of super-intelligent AI, sometimes calling the concerns silly or misguided. While there's obviously a wide range of opinion among AI researchers about the potential dangers of AI, there's still an underlying attitude that this is ludicrous, that it just doesn't seem possible, and that incredulity is what fuels arguments from incredulity. This is best exemplified by responses to Nick Bostrom's book, Superintelligence. Published in 2014, Bostrom's book is one of the most influential texts on the potential risks of superintelligent AI. In it, he outlines 3 ways in which superintelligent AI could go wrong. 2 of these scenarios are relatively straightforward. The first is that AI could be deliberately programmed to do harm. The second is that even if AI isn't programmed to do harm, it could still end up causing harm accidentally by, say, optimizing for the wrong thing. The third scenario is much more speculative. It's that super-intelligent AI could decide that humans are a threat to its own survival and therefore must be eliminated. Despite the relative plausibility of the first two scenarios, many responses to Bostrom's book dismissed it outright. It just didn't seem possible to them. Take, for instance, this piece written by Gary Marcus, a New York University professor and cognitive scientist. Marcus argued that Bostrom's warnings about superintelligence were misplaced because there was no reason to think that the human brain was any more special than a complex machine like a steam engine or a TV remote. Marcus wrote, "Why should we expect that intelligence as such is so very different from this stuff?" Similarly, the philosopher Balwant Bhaskar argued that talk of AI going haywire was based on a misunderstanding of how intelligence works. In his view, AI would never be able to achieve a kind of intelligence that could pose a threat to humanity because it wouldn't have anything close to our kind of consciousness. As he wrote, "If you take a look at neuroscientific data on consciousness, you realize that what is going on there is vastly more complicated than anything that current AI can do." While these arguments certainly have merit, it's important to recognize what they're not. These are not arguments that simply say, "I disagree, and here's why." They are arguments from incredulity that say, "I don't believe this is possible, so it must be wrong." Now, I'm not saying that arguments from incredulity are always wrong. After all, I've used this exact technique myself in my day job as a science journalist. There are simply too many bad science stories out there to cover them all. And I don't feel guilty about focusing on the ones that I think are the most compelling or the most relevant. But using argument from incredulity to dismiss important arguments altogether is a real problem, especially in the realm of science and technology, where facts are critical. Consider the example of climate change. For years, many people used the argument from incredulity to dismiss the science of human-caused climate change. They simply couldn't imagine that humans could be causing such a huge shift in global weather patterns, so it must not be true. The result was devastating. For decades, they allowed the planet to continue warming, all because they couldn't wrap their minds around the idea that it was actually happening. Of course, arguments from incredulity can also be used to dismiss legitimate criticisms of new technology. In this case, AI researchers are using the fact that they do not think that AI could ever be truly conscious to argue that their technology won't cause the apocalyptic scenarios they have themselves helped create. And it's not just dismissing other people's arguments. It's actively preventing progress on solutions. Take the problem of algorithmic bias. This is a well-documented problem where algorithms perpetuate and even amplify existing societal biases. Given that AI systems are trained on data that reflects our own human biases, this is hardly surprising. But the result is that AI systems can perpetuate and even amplify these biases, resulting in discriminatory outcomes. Now you might say, "That's a nonsense. Our algorithms are perfectly neutral." And then you would be using argument from incredulity to dismiss a well-documented problem. It's not enough to simply reject an argument. You have to explain why. Dismissing important concerns about AI in this way is not only intellectually dishonest, it's also dangerous. It allows these problems to persist without the scrutiny they need to be solved. Again, I don't want to make a blanket statement that argument from incredulity is never valid. Instead, I want to highlight the importance of confronting difficult concepts head-on instead of letting our disbelief of them prevent us from doing our jobs. Again, this is Future Tense, a show that examines the ways that emerging technologies are impacting our lives. And I'm here to tell you that I genuinely believe that this moment is critical. We stand on the precipice of some incredible discoveries and innovations. But these discoveries will only serve to improve our lives if we approach them with humility, honesty, and a willingness to confront the unknown. Thank you for joining me for this special episode on Argument from Incredulity. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to let us know by hitting the thumbs up button below and leaving a review on whatever app you're using to listen. And if you want to support our work, you can do that at our website, Until next time, this is Sarah Marks. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Future Tense, where we dissect tomorrow's ideas today. Stay curious.